All right, Broncos country, it is here, man. My final 53-man roster prediction for the Broncos. Really looking forward to seeing how close or not close I get based off of this. It's one of those things where it's very difficult to predict. Obviously, there's a lot of nuances to it that don't really matter, but we're gonna break it down. And we're gonna talk about the Broncos 53 as a lot of these cuts have already gotten underway now. This is coming on the heels of the report that Audric Estime was released by the Broncos officially. Happened about 5 minutes ago. I did not have him on the final 53 anyways, so it doesn't really matter. But let's jump in, guys. Like and subscribe if you're not already. Let's get into this, man. I love me some Broncos content here on this beautiful, beautiful Monday evening. All right, so here's what I got. We're going to walk through every single one of these individually. So I got Bo Nix, Jarrett Stidham as a quarterback. I pondered having Sam Ehlinger make the team. I wouldn't be surprised. I just couldn't get myself to make it make sense, because really what I was actually boiling it down to was a player on the defensive side that we'll get to. So that's who I got as a quarterback. Running backs, right now I got Dobbins, Harvey, Bidet, and McLaughlin. I don't think there's any surprises there. They're the ones that really stood out. Now, could there be changes here and some surprises here? Yes, but I don't think that there will be. Here's where the surprise is, and y'all already know I made this video before, and I tried to tell you guys, it was not clickbait, man. I believe the Broncos are keeping 6 wide receivers, and I think A.T. Perry is going to be the 6th for a lot of reasons. I think he's slowly becoming a Sean Payton guy. He is a veteran that, is still very raw, still has a lot of room for growth, but spent a majority of last season with the team, albeit on the practice squad. And he constantly talks heavily about him. I think he's somebody that if they were to cut, he would have been claimed and they would have not had the luxury of putting him on the practice squad this year. And I believe that Sean Payton loves big body receivers. If, he's starting to believe in him, and his coaching staff, Pete Carmichael, Joe Lombardi, they believe in him. So that's all going to bode well for him. I do believe A.T. Perry is going to make it. I think he's going to be a game day inactive until there's some sort of an injury. And that's fine for him because he needs to get himself back into shape after missing a lot of the offseason with an injury. But I think he was the main cog that allowed for us to really trade Devon Bailey. Obviously, as well of like the growth of Franklin and the drafting and what Pat Bryant has shown. But he was also kind of that insurance policy. So I do believe they're going to roll with 6. In terms of the tight ends, we got Ingram, we got Troutman, we got Atkins, and Kroll. Let's go through these. Ingram, Troutman, there for obvious reasons. Atkins, I thought he was going to be on short-term IR. Sean Payton said he is not. Talk about another Sean Payton guy that he loves. Atkins. And I do believe, man, that Lucas Kroll did enough to earn himself an initial 53-man roster. Now, listen, if there's a surprise tight end cut, somebody that gets released off another team for cap casualties or whatever, and they feel like, man, that's a really good fit, and they're kind of familiar with them in their game, I can see them bringing in a tight end and Kroll being the guy that ends up leaving. All right, here's another area where I really did ponder. I was going to probably remove Forsythe or Crum and put insert veteran here because I think that there's a pretty good chance the Broncos do make a waiver claim for either an offensive lineman that either, he's either a swing tackle or someone that can play both guard and center spot. So, but right now we got Bowles, McGlinchey rounding out the starters. Palczewski, he's a very valuable piece because he can play guard too. Matt Pert will be your primary swing tackle. And Frank Crum, I just think that they still see too much in him to want to get rid of him. And then as the guard and centers, you got Miners and Powers, who are the starters, and Wattenberg as well. And then I think Alex Forsythe right now will be the game day backup guard / center. But I do believe Calvin Throckmorton will make the practice squad, and he could be somebody that, let's say Wattenberg got hurt. Well, that game Forsythe would fill in, but in the weeks moving forward, Throckmorton could be somebody that can get activated and elevated to be able to be available there as well. All right. And now this is where it became very difficult. So that puts 25 guys on offense. This is where it became very difficult for me. And I was going back and forth between the Ehlinger and leaving somebody else off. All right. And that's because of the defensive line. And I think it's a really good problem to have. And I kept going back and forth. And I thought, listen, if you cut Uwazurike and you cut Jordan Jackson, I don't think there's a chance that either one of them clears. So I'm going to keep them both because I think that they're both really good players that are still have a lot of upside, that's got a lot of versatility, that are great depth pieces for this defensive line. And I do believe that also by having Savion Jones can give you some edge versatility as well, should you need him to be available there. So I got Allen, JFM, DJ Jones, Malcolm Roach, Savion, Iomo Uwazurike, and Jordan Jackson. That's 7 defensive tackles / defensive ends. 5 guys on the edge, no surprise there, in Bonito, Ellis, Tillman, and Robinson. What a room, by the way. That is lethal. Gotta love that. I do have them going with 4 linebackers. I think 4 makes sense. I think you can get Karine Reed on the practice squad. I think you can get Jordan Turner on the practice squad. So I think they're going to roll with Sternad and Bailey as the primary backups to Singleton and Greenlaw. Just having an extra one doesn't make sense. You can always elevate should you need to. And then they can play a lot of dime too. And then so on the safety position, I do not have PJ Locke making this team. I just believe, and this is just my belief, they are currently trying to find a trade partner for him. But man, it's a heavy room. Skinner is someone that is beloved in terms of his ability to not only play on the defense, but he's amazing at special teams. Sam Franklin Jr. was brought here specifically for special teams. He has a $1.3 million contract, but it is fully guaranteed. So that's usually a good sign that he's going to make it. Delarian Turner-Yell could be a surprise here because apparently he's a special teams ace as well and someone that's beloved. But I think those, these 4 on safety might do the trick for the Broncos. I don't know if having a 5th guy makes sense. You could save a lot of money with PJ Locke. I personally, I would keep PJ Locke. All right, so don't come at me in the comments. But I think the Broncos are ready to move on because I think that they feel really comfortable with the kind of players that they have at safety, and also with the depth. You can probably get Devon Key on the on the practice squad. You can get Delarian Turner-Yell on the practice squad if you need to. So you can get some of those guys on the practice squad should you. So I think they're going to roll with 4, and then the 5 corners we all know about: PS2, Moss, Barron, McMillan, and Chris Abrams-Drain. So yes, my big change here, I think the thing that differentiates it from a lot of other guys is 53s. I do have them going with 6 wide receivers, and I do also have them going with 7 defensive linemen. And I'm going, so that leaves 9 offensive linemen in total, but it leaves them a little bit thinner at these groups, but I think you can afford to be thinner there should you need to. So obviously Lutz, Crawshaw, Fraboni round up the total of 53 that I got on this team. So I'd love to know what y'all think, man. That's kind of what I got. It's going to be interesting to see. But again, why do I feel like A.T. Perry, somebody's going to make this team? I just kind of try to read through the tea leaves. Always positive reports about him at all the times. The reports are positive. Anytime Sean Payton's asked about him, he just seems to have this positive nature when it talks about A.T. Perry. So I think that they like him. They cut Joaquin Davis. I think he's going to be a practice squad priority for him, which is why they cut him early, along with Jordan Turner. So they're going to try to get those guys on the practice squad. If they do, that's great. That means now you got a good young player that I think is going to have a few years to go up there and develop. And like I said, man, people just forget about A.T. Perry. I know it became like a joke, and it became like we were kind of overhyping him a little bit too much, and you've been hearing about him for a long time. But here's the thing, man. He's a very talented wide receiver that's still very young, very cheap. And when he's gotten the opportunities, he's produced. I don't have to pound the table on that anymore. He just has. And Sean Payton really seems to like him. So much so that he was having him, run scout team against the first teamers. He had him running against the scout team with the first teamers a lot. He really wanted to see where he fits. He was impressed by him. And I think he would have done him a lot more favors had he not gotten injured in the offseason. But it allowed for other guys to step up too. So that's what I got, man. Let me know what y'all think below in the comments. And tune in for Horsepower Hour tonight, 8 p.m. Mountain Time. Can't wait to see y'all there. Till the next video. Peace out.